IRS. And so if Congress will work with me on doing that, we'll be.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports and the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Good afternoon, Mr. Rick Schaeffer.
Well, good afternoon, Randy Rainwater. Once again, I will say that if it's 100 degrees here, what is it there? It is 100 degrees here today.
103. Joe, I think the heat index is 114. Is that correct? I think it's close to that regardless. It's warm. It's hot.
Wow.
Again, a lot of liquids. And if you can avoid being outside, don't go out there. It is extremely hot
hot. I
now.
was watching Kansas City and Cleveland in baseball. Obviously a meaningless game. Cleveland's in first place, but they're below 500 and 97 degrees. And you could just almost feel it watching it on TV. And one of these rare things, okay, it looked like the Royals were going to get out of the top of the 10th unscathed with 2 out and an 0-2 count on the batter. Jose Ramirez stole home. You just hardly ever see that. He stole home. The pitch was high. Salvador Perez reached down and lunged at him, but his slide got him around with his hand. And but then the Royals got 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th and finally won a game 4-3. But yeah, again, you could almost feel the heat coming through the TV. It was so hot.
I cannot imagine right now playing on turf. Just can't.
No.
I mean,
who has turf? I don't know if anybody has it. Do you?
Well, obviously at the collegiate level.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers do, but because they have an indoor stadium, or they use the roof for most of the time. But there again, when the roof's closed, it's 70 degrees in there because they got the air conditioner on.
I thought they had grass in there.
No.
I thought they figured out a way to have grass. Or is it Houston that has that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Houston has grass, yes. Similar stadiums, Houston has grass. I was surprised this year. I'd forgotten that. I saw a couple of games there last year, and then I forgot when I went back this year because I kind of thought the same thing, that they had grass in there, but they don't. So, yeah, not much artificial turf left in baseball.
Let's get our day started off on the right foot.
The right foot. Okay.
Yeah, the right foot. Not the left foot, but the right foot. That's
right.
with Savage. Savage, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
What's going on, fellas? Sweating to the oldies.
So, Savage, you're going to explain to us what in the world you were asking us yesterday.
That's what I'm calling in. All right, so the Nationals are playing St. Louis. His base is loaded, and I can't remember the batter's name. So he gets up, he hits a ball, and at St. Louis, the field is the outside fence is 8 foot tall. Well, there's another barrier right above that. Well, the ball had hit right above that fence. Well, the bases were loaded. The batter hits it. Well, he runs the bases. The guy on second base doesn't move, but Harper scores. He runs around and scores. So they go the batter knew he hit a home run. The base runners didn't. So they went to the review to thought he may have passed one of his teammates up in the baseline.
Okay.
I see.
So after they reviewed it, they made every player get back on base, made him go back to home plate, and he swung without a baseball being there, and then they ran around the bases again.
What? I have never heard
I'm with Rick. I've never heard.
They
made him
pretend
like he was hitting the ball.
So it was a home run.
Absolutely.
So it was a home run. They ruled it a home run.
They ruled it a home run after the review, but there was 2 things they were reviewing: whether the batter passed up one of his teammates going around the bases, and if it was a home run. So after all that was concluded, he made everybody go back to the base. The batter went back to home plate, and he pretended to swing. And then the umpire stuck his finger above his head, waved it around, and did a little dance. And then they all went around the bases again.
I have never heard of that. I
cannot believe in this day of technology that they could not have gone back and seen that on video. Why make them reenact it?
Okay.
I'm not going to pass him if I'm the batter who hit the ball, the batter runner. I'm not going to now pass my teammate because he would be out.
Well, what happened, the player on second, he never moved. But the guy that, Harper came, he was on third base. He came in to score. the guy on first base, he moved, so there was a log jam at second base.
But
the
so
runner at first
ever pass it? But the guy at first, did he pass the guy at second? If he didn't, then they should have just let him run.
He never did, but they wanted to review it.
Well, they should have just let him run. They didn't need to reenact it.
How ridiculous!
And by the way, couldn't have been Bryce Harper. He plays for the Phillies. If they were playing the Nationals.
Well, I mean, it was somebody else. I can't remember their names, but if you look on YouTube, look up the Washington Nationals and the St. Louis game. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Well, believe me, watching the Cardinals in late innings, that doesn't surprise me because they have the worst things happen to them. Last night, they're leading by 2.
Randy, I'll go ahead
5 in the 8th.
Yep. And Randy, I'll go ahead and give you kudos. I watched the perfect game last night.
Wasn't that awesome?
Did you really?
Absolutely. Well, once it got to the 8th, they started putting it on every channel.
Yeah. Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was the 24th perfect game in baseball history. And this does go back into the 1800s. So this is not one of those after 1900. This is since they've been keeping records. 24th. That's how few there have been. But it's the first ever where the pitcher who threw it gave up 10 runs at his previous start. That's never happened. Yeah.
And they said the last one was in 2012, Hernandez. Is that correct?
Yes,
yep.
That's right. And
he
won 1-0. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Something.
But anyway, I just wanted to break that down for you fellas, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Savage.
So
I read that and I had no clue.
Yep. Go back and look at it, Rick. It's absolutely mind-blowing watching them make them guys run around the bases again like there's Ghost Man on second and just having them go around the bases again. Pretty crazy. Yeah, have a good one.
Is ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'm going to go to YouTube and see if I can find it.
It's ridiculous. Okay, while you're doing that, I'll read from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Larry says, is it pretty much academic talking about Braylon Russell, the 4-star running back from Benton High School? Is it pretty much academic that he's going to Tennessee? No. In fact, I hear that there may be joy in the camp involving Arkansas Razorback fans, but you never know. From what I hear, his father is like Cam Newton's Cam Newton's dad and LeVar Ball all rolled into one. Big NIL wins, I guess, but hey, it's all legal now. I've not heard that aspect of it. In fact, Braylon Russell's he's a class young man. Very, very quality young man. Lee says, Randy, call the Benton Parks and Rec and tell them to cancel softball tonight, please. Is it too
hot?
Is it too hot for you, Lee? Rick, how about Marmo sitting Walker again last night? Ha. I let Joe and John hear about it, but you are my safe space.
Okay, Randy, I need to tell you, it was Bryce Harper. This game was 9 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know
how in the world did that come up now?
I don't know, but I'm sitting here watching it, and yes, so the Washington hitter, Michael Morse, hits a fly ball that it's hard to tell if it's a home run or not. So the runner from third scores. The runner from second goes to third. The runner at second doesn't move. The runner at first comes to second. The right fielder retrieves the ball, throws it back in. And the runner the hitter who's already come to second base, he has to run back to first. They tagged him out.
Well, wait a minute. Were the bases loaded to begin with?
Yeah, the bases are loaded.
Okay, bases were loaded. So at one time there were two men already at second base.
No, I'm sorry. The runner from
third scores. Runner from second goes to third.
The runner at second. The one that was.
What about the runner at first? What happened to him?
Okay, that's right. The runner at first went to second.
Okay.
And stopped. The hitter rounds first. He goes all the way to second. Realizes there's a guy there, and so he has to turn around and.
But he doesn't pass him.
He doesn't pass him.
Okay.
He turns around, By that time, the Cardinals had the ball back in the infield, and they tagged him out. Now, this is my gosh, this is a long replay. So they're sitting there right now as I'm watching it. That's what's happened. And if the play stood, that then it would be 1 run in, runners at second and third, and the guy that got the hit would be out. Now the umpires are starting. They've been conferring. They're about to come out of the dugout. Again, this is a game, Savage. This game is 9 years old. So you were right. It was Bryce Harper because the Nationals, Davey Johnson is the manager of the.
Was there replay
Nationals.
back 9 years ago? Video replay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could use replay to determine, and that's exactly what they're doing. They are sending the runners back to their bases. I am just absolutely astonished at this. Now,
and they're making Harper make an imaginary swing.
They are bringing and I'm looking at the announcer. I'm reading it, and the announcer's saying, "This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this before." They're making him swing, and that's exactly what they did. They made him swing again, and the announcer is saying, "There it goes. See ya. Grand slam," as if it was happening when he made the fake swing.
Oh, my goodness.
He says, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life." That's what the announcer says. Okay, Savage. But we'll say again, that game was 9 years ago. It was September 29th, 2012. That's not 9 years ago. It's 11 years ago.
Yeah.
September 29th, 2012.
11 years ago. Wow.
But thank you, Savage. I would say there have been 24 perfect games in baseball history. That is probably the only play like that in baseball history. I've never seen it. Never seen anything like that. So anybody that wants to look at it on YouTube, it is, again, September 29th, 2012. It says the headline is Morse, which is Michael Morse, has single overturned into grand slam.
Well, actually, he was a single, and he was tagged out.
He would have been out.
9-3. And anyway, this from our Buzz text line. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Rick said, "Unbelievable." That from TQ.
No, the announcer said that. That's when I was reading what the announcer said.
But the words still came from your lips.
But I got to tell you, that would be as close as anything I would say. It's unbelievable because you're thinking, who could make a call like that? And have you ever heard of that? Making the guy swing again?
I have not.
That?
I have not.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the only thing that I've seen that could be as bizarre as that is there was the fly ball that the outfielder, I can remember the teams, and you'd think a major league player would make this mistake. He is on the crack of the bat. He's off and running. He touches second base, and then he realizes he's got to go back to first or he's going to be doubled off. So he just cuts across the diamond.
Which you can't do.
He didn't retrace his steps. I mean, that was pretty, at that time, unbelievable to think that a major league player would make that kind of mistake.
Well, it also shows you that, and I'm guessing this is possible in football and possible in basketball, but in baseball, you can go to hundreds of games and then go to a game and see something you've never seen
Probably.
before. Yeah. Whereas in football, maybe you see that. Maybe in basketball, I'm trying to think what you would see in football or basketball that would be that odd that you'd never seen before.
Well, it'd be kind of like,
or a perfect game.
It'd be kind of like watching the Three Stooges, and he takes off the wrong direction with the football.
Yeah.
And rather than running for his goal, he's headed towards the opponent's goal line. Then they turn him around. Now he goes back, and he gets anyway. Madness. All right, this from Marley Lee by way of our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback from yesterday's discussion of something to honor Ryan. Yeah. How about naming the quarterback's meeting room the Ryan Mallett Memorial Quarterback Room? That's an excellent suggestion.
Yeah, I think a lot of and put his picture in there. I think that would be very appropriate. When you think about it, we've seen quotes from Tyler Wilson, Quinn Grovey, Brandon Allen. People have somehow gotten a hold of them, and you've seen them quoted about Ryan Mallett. Certainly other teammates. Adams, I thought Joe Adams had some nice comments, and I'm sure other teammates could have as well. But I think Quinn Grovey's the one that said this, and he's right. There is a fraternity. There's a fraternity. If you're a Razorback football player, you're in the fraternity.
Yep.
Period.
You're right.
But there's also a fraternity among Razorback quarterbacks. That is a special group because there aren't, you go through the years. In fact, this was really funny because I just happened to be talking to Quinn earlier in the week before this happened with Mallett. And he said, gosh, remind me, before Greg Thomas and I got there, who were the quarterbacks? He said he knew Brad Taylor. And but anyway, he was thinking, who are the quarterbacks in '84? And he thought they were Brad Taylor and Mark Calcagni. Well, Calcagni was there but never played. But Danny Nutt transferred into the program and was a backup for 1 year. Brad Taylor was the starter. That was Hatfield's first year. Taylor started. Nutt was the backup. The next year, it was Greg Thomas and Mark Calcagni. So we got caught up from there. But it was interesting that there's this great quarterback, Quinn Grovey, trying to trace quarterback roots through Razorback history because it's a big deal to them.
Sure. No, it is. It's a fraternity, and you're right about that. I think, Marty, that is an excellent suggestion. I don't know who, I don't know, Rick, if you can pass it on to Coach Pittman or whoever it may be, Hunter Yurchek, but I think that's an excellent suggestion on naming it the Ryan Mallett Memorial Quarterback Room. This was a story, speaking of Ryan, this was a story on Saturday Down South. And the headline, Ryan Mallett's tragic end stirs memories of the freewheeling SEC era he started. And it just goes over when he came in, he was the first and started the process. He was the first true elite quarterback transfer of the millennium. And he would become a trend that would become the fabric of the SEC's football dominance. And in the process, force all college coaches to rethink the most important position on the field. Before Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, Jay Coker, Joe Burrow, there was Ryan Mallett.
Wow, now I had never thought about that he was the first big-time quarterback transfer.
Yes, he was.
Isn't that something? I never thought about that. And then you look at him now. Holy smokes. All the transfer quarterbacks that turn out to be stars.
There were 190 quarterbacks who went into the transfer portal in the two open windows. Oh, by the way, they're talking about cutting that window, the transfer portal window, from 60 days total, because you get 15 in the spring, 45 in December into January, cutting it back to 30 days. And I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
He said in the story, Mallett made an immediate impact at Arkansas, which began with the 2009 season with games against Georgia and Alabama, where Mallett threw for 568 yards and 6 touchdowns. Arkansas had never seen anything like it, and the SEC hadn't seen this type of passing prowess since Steve Spurrier's quarterbacks at Florida in the 1990s. Mallett then threw 4 touchdowns the next week in a win over Texas A&M and 2 more in a win over ranked Auburn. It was then that my editor told me to head to Fayetteville, because next up was a game at defending national champion Florida, and we know how that game played out.
Arkansas should have won that game.
Should have won that game.
Yeah,
correct.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a great read, by the way. If it's on Saturday Down South, and it's a great read. Matt Hayes is the gentleman who wrote this, and it changed the fabric of the SEC forever. So, very good story.
Interesting. Well, those are, you look back and sometimes you don't appreciate those things when they happen. And of course, how would we have known? Now, that's the only way you can know that about starting quarterbacks transferring, because if he was the first, you wouldn't know that was going to set a trend. But boy, he's right. Cam Newton wins the national championship at Auburn. Burrow wins the national championship at LSU. There have been some really good transfer.
Nick Marshall was one drive away from winning it.
Yeah, that's right.
Jay Coker, Joe Burrow. We know what Burrow did.
Yeah.
Down at LSU with that prolific offense. Yeah. So, yeah, very good read. Get a chance, go to Saturday Down South and check it out. All right, Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in just one moment. I really thought it was an oasis out in the desert, and that is Double B's. This was a day where I thought, how many cold drinks can I get my hands on? Because hot, hydrate, sweltering hot, hydrate, and it all begins with a 24 count of Crystal Geyser water. And then from there, it can go many different directions that we have talked about. And Lee, you might want, I doubt they're going to cancel the game tonight down at the Benton Parks and Rec. So you need to head out right now to your local Double B's and you need to pick you up some drinks. Treat the team tonight. Be a team player. Pick up those 28-ounce Gatorade and G-Fit because they're only $2.25. And do like they used to do, our kids. You take the magic marker and you write their name on it. That way, everybody has their own Gatorade. And if they run out of that, then they can go and get some water. But this is why I call it the Oasis. I've called it a lot of things. Tailgate headquarters, couch potato headquarters, you name it. Right now, it is the Oasis. So stop in, take advantage of all of the great opportunities to continue to hydrate, drink plenty of water. The core hydration water, 30 ounces, just $2. 30 ounces. That's right. So check it out. All the great specials for the month of June, and this month is flying by. It is Double B's, where you gas it, grab it, and go. Make it Double B's. It is hot out there. So continue to hydrate. Rick, we have, and I know all the programs on the station, nationwide programs. This is such a topic of discussion, and that is the NIL collectives.
Yeah.
Now, On3, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to look at On3, its website.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us to do something on 3. 1.
Well, no,
2,
if you want
3,
to, you can jump up and run around the house if you want to on 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't want you to hurt anything, though. But it had the top 20 most ambitious NIL collectives. The number one collective, and it kind of goes hand in hand, maybe I guess to a degree, with what Larry was saying about the big NIL wins. And it looks like already Tennessee has flexed its collective muscle in baseball by getting the number one player that is in a pitcher that's in the transfer portal. But it's called Spire, Spyre, Spire. Said it caught the nation's attention when word leaked of a 5-star quarterback signing a contract that would pay up to $8 million by their junior year. Nico Amaleva signing with Spire.
Is that the guy that Florida was going to get that didn't?
I think it was. I think he.
So maybe that didn't turn out so well for him.
Yeah. It is Spire is Tennessee's NIL operation has become the leading collective in the country.
Okay, well then that probably wasn't it. But did Tennessee get this guy? Did they pay him $8 million?
I don't know. The for-profit arm, the Volunteer Club, has grown to 2,769 members with an expansive e-commerce business. Spire has executed 1,400 deals since July of 2021. Currently, they have 90 athletes on active contracts. Spire told On3 in February the Volunteer Club had produced 13 13.5 million in NIL deals.
Okay, so it sounds
13.5
like the
million.
Spire thing works with several schools. That's what it makes it sound like. If it's got that many athletes making that kind of money, is that what you're?
It just
thinking?
says this is the Spire Sports Group, and then in parentheses, Tennessee. Number
It is
two,
just Tennessee. Okay.
number
All
two, 12th Man Plus Fund, Texas A&M. Number three, Division Street, which represents Oregon. Number four, the Texas One Fund, Texas, obviously. Number five, John Ruiz / Canes Connection, Joe's team, Miami Hurricanes.
You know, as we stop here for just a second, how does anybody know all this? This does not have. There's no public disclosure on this.
I guess these are super sleuths on behalf of On3 that gets to the bottom of it. I don't know.
Okay.
Now, John Ruiz, he's been very open down at Miami.
Absolutely.
He has not beat around the bush. He's made it quite clear. Number six, the Battles End down at Florida State. And all these, it goes into detail how they've achieved success. Number seven, House of Victory, USC. Number eight, One Arkansas, NIL.
No kidding.
Says, while Texas A&M has grabbed headlines for its forward-thinking, landscape-changing collective model, Arkansas has quietly been running a similar structure for months. One Arkansas, NIL, launched in August 2022, was led by Marvin Caston, former Razorback football player and senior development at the Razorback Foundation.
Yeah.
There are other connections between One Arkansas, NIL, and the nonprofit Razorback Foundation, Inc., the private fundraising arm that raises millions of dollars in support of the University of Arkansas Athletic Department. And there's some more things it says. But One Arkansas, I didn't know this. Did you know this, Rick? One Arkansas signed every incoming transfer and early enrollee in January.
Really?
As part of the agreement with each athlete, they promoted the United Way of Northern Arkansas 2011 Day.
Wow.
So every incoming freshman and every incoming transfer became part of the One Arkansas NIL.
Every one of them.
Every one of them.
Amazing.
Is that not interesting?
We just don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And it's nice to know if Arkansas is going to be in the top 10. That's one of the things to be in the top 10 about.
Well, number 9 is the Grove Collection, Ole Miss. And then number 10 is the Country Roads Trust in West Virginia. So it's interesting that number 12 is Auburn on to victory. Number 14 is Classic City, Georgia. Number 16 is Garnett Trust, South Carolina. And then that's it among the top 20 from the SEC.
So count real quickly again. How many SEC schools in there? Is
All right.
Alabama not in there?
They're not among the top 20.
Wow. Okay.
You've got South Carolina, that's 1. Georgia is 2. Auburn is 3. And Ole Miss is 4. Arkansas is 5. And then A&M would be what, 6?
Yeah.
I think that's the other one.
Tennessee 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Tennessee is 1. So that'd be 7, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
7 schools. So Alabama and LSU are not in there?
No, they are not in the top 20, according to On3 Sports.
Don't you wonder how well researched that is? I got to believe that there's more there than meets the eye.
Well, I guess all the money went to Bryce Young. So that meant at Alabama, they didn't have any more money, any other money to go around.
Well, yeah, and you know that there are those that definitely believe it. When we gave Bryce Young and Anderson credit for playing in the Sugar Bowl, there were those that said they got paid significantly to play in that game.
Yes.
Yeah, through NIL. It wasn't a matter of, hey, we're devoted to Alabama. It was they got paid well to play.
Exactly. Shane, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Yeah, guys, good to talk with you. As far as who Dave Van Horn has signed out of the portal, I noticed he said the other day he couldn't talk about them. Was that because they haven't officially signed yet?
That's correct. Yeah. So what he said was he liked them, and they are committed, and evidently they are coming, but they haven't actually signed letters.
They'll be signing letters of agreement.
Yeah.
When will that happen, you guys think?
When they get ready to enroll in school.
Yeah, which won't be till August. Yeah.
And that Chandler Lawson, when will he be on campus? I'll hang up and listen.
Probably already is. You think?
I would think so.
Transfer from Memphis. I mean, he can come anytime. So I would think if he's not here already, it's coming. He's coming soon.
Because when does the
behind.
second session of summer school start?
Next week, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he would have to go through his physical, go through all the paperwork, and if he wants to go through summer school, which most of them do.
Yeah. Well, and here's the question: do you have to be enrolled in summer school to work out with the team? Maybe since he's never been enrolled, maybe to be a Razorback athlete, he may have to be. I don't know. But
well, as a grad transfer,
let's say you're Devo Davis. Do you have to be taking summer school classes to work out with the team?
The way that Musselman talked when he was praising the physical condition of the team, he talked at that time about all 12.
Right. So they're all working out.
They're all working out.
But the question is, are they all enrolled in summer school? Do you have to be enrolled in summer school to work out? I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm sure Devo is trying to get classes to get closer to his degree.
You're sure?
No, I don't know that for a fact. I'm just supposing.
Yeah. Well, do we have is Bart Reed on with us tonight?
He is.
Well, let's ask him. I don't know the answer.
Bart, I hope you're listening because Rick has already given you a homework assignment.
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that. And of course, football doesn't have practices. They have workouts in the weight room and all that. And I would assume most of them are in summer school, but they don't have to be, right, for that because it's not official practices.
But I would think you'd have to be in school, though, to be able to get any kind of stipend from the athletic department for housing.
That may be the key. But you could be using your NIL money if you wanted to, right?
Well, then you better have a bunch of it. And this is not exactly the season right now.
No, you're right. Summer school gets them the money. Yes, you're right.
Drive Time Sports will continue. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Now, why is a loan from First Security better? Well, number one, they have over 78 banking centers across our great state and over 90 ATMs. So you can do business just about anywhere in this state with First Security Bank. And, man, going on nearly 90 years. 90 years and Arkansas only. And it is meaning that is local decisions, local processing, and local service. It's all done right here, folks. Arkansas only. So if you're thinking about a boat, an RV, a motorcycle, maybe you want a home loan. Maybe you want to refinance. Home equity loans. We talk a lot about those, whether it's for home improvement, college education, maybe debt consolidation, commercial loans, real estate, construction. Maybe need to buy a piece of equipment, lines of credit. When you need a loan, you'll find it at First Security Bank. Call or stop by any First Security location today for better loans backed by better personal service. Remember, FDIC Equal Housing Lender, only in Arkansas. That's First Security Bank. This real quick from our Asher Wrecker Service Company live fan feedback. By the way, new owner of Asher Wrecker, Brad Bohannon, former Razorback baseball player.
Oh, yeah. How about that? Really?
Savage said, "You're welcome, Rick. I'm glad I found something you've never seen in baseball.
You did.
I'm so blessed to help you see the unbelievable." LOL.
Thank you, Savage. Yeah, I must admit, I was watching that. It's just almost incredulous as I was seeing it happen.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
but Savage, it happened 11 years ago. Where were you then? We were on the air then too.
All right. Joe and I were having this debate during the break. How long has 1037 The Buzz, how long have we been carrying Arkansas Razorback baseball?
Well, it's since I've been on with you. I know that. So, again, when I'm trying to think, when Chuck and I worked baseball together, I think it was on the Arkansas Radio Network in Little Rock. The signal wasn't that strong. I'm going to say 10, 11, 12 years. It's been about that because, and I think Chuck would agree with this too, that having a strong station in Little Rock, of course, the Buzz is the strongest station in the whole state, really created a lot of interest in Razorback baseball in Central Arkansas. And so I think that's when statewide interest really took off, because before then you really didn't have, was it 92.1 FM down there that carried her and
9:20 a.m.
Yeah, 9:20 a.m. and their signal's not that strong, and that's not their fault. Hey, at first, look, for years the only station carrying it was KFAY up here, 10:30 a.m. in Northwest Arkansas. That was it. 92.1, I guess, carried it some too. So that was it. There were no other affiliates carrying Razorback baseball. So then when they got a Little Rock station, that was a big deal. Maybe they had 3 or 4 stations at that time, but then and it might have grown to a larger network before the Buzz actually took it. But once the Buzz took it, now you're talking about a great signal that you could catch in a lot of places in the state. It's caught on. I think there are about 12 or 14 affiliates for Razorback baseball around the state now. So I think the Buzz is what made it a big deal. But how many years actually? I know I was still doing the games then, and in fact, for several years was doing the games when the Buzz carried them.
Oh, I remember that. You tell me, not on today.
That's right.
I'm not on today.
I know. Sorry.
I didn't mind you missing on the weekends, but during the week was a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
But we have 1037 The Buzz has such a great reach.
Yeah.
Just about the Jonesboro, for City, Ozark.
Clarksville. That's you. You're driving from Little Rock to Fayetteville. I'm going to say about Clarksville's about when you lose it.
Well, I've gotten it all the way up to Ozark.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, there in Alma, one occasion, and the only reason why I know this for a fact, I was listening to 103.7, waiting for the NFL game on Sunday. I was coming back home from a game in Fayetteville, and for some reason, now, I mean, atmospheric conditions are crazy. That's just all I can say. It's just, I've always said AM is like a bouncing ball, and FM is like throwing a blanket out there. And sometimes the blanket will stretch a little bit further than otherwise. I mean, Ray has told us he's been listening on the campus in Ole Miss,
Really?
down at Oxford. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, let's talk to Danny. Danny, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Danny.
I'm saying this sarcastically, but I don't understand why you wouldn't pay every five-star quarterback at least $2 million a year. It's not like there's been five-star quarterbacks that never lived up to that potential. And I'm see what y'all got to say about that.
Well, I understand. Thank you, Danny. I understand $1 million has been the starting point on five-star quarterbacks.
Yeah. Really? Wow.
I read that back when the collectives were really starting to explode, so to speak. But yeah, $1 million starting point for a five-star. They say that, what is it, Manning, Archie's grandson?
Yeah.
His NIL deal is worth $3.5 million at Texas. Let's talk to Steve. Steve, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Well, hello, gentlemen.
What's up, buddy?
Last night with Jermaine's perfect game,
Yeah.
Randy, this is some Yankee history.
Yeah.
Fourth
one.
Yeah, fourth
That
Yankee.
was only the fourth perfect game that ever been thrown by a Yankee pitcher.
It's only the 24th by anybody. It
I
just
know.
doesn't happen
And
much.
I'm always amazed at a perfect game over the batter that hits for the cycle, because a perfect game is a lot more hard to accomplish than the cycle is.
I'd have to check on this. I think there have been 20, maybe even less than that, unassisted triple plays in Major League Baseball. I think that is the only thing rarer than a perfect game.
But anyway, and talking about the NIL, last night I was watching the LSU special where they were, giving the trophy and all that to the LSU players, and they were doing a promo there on the stadium screen and everything. And the one thing they said about Thatcher Hurd, that he gives every dime of his NIL money to the Baton Rouge Food Bank.
Wow. Isn't that something?
I thought that says a lot for him right there.
Oh, no doubt about it. That's amazing.
Because, these kids today, they don't think about, people that are in need or things like that.
Oh, I think some of them do. Yeah, I think some of them do.
I mean, it's not all of them, but most of them, they worried about, look at me.
Most of them. But yes, I think there are some that certainly do care for others.
And did you see what the NFL done today, or it might have been yesterday?
You're talking about the gambling crackdown?
Yeah. And two of the four players that got suspended for the whole year, the two teams that they were with, they let them go.
One of them was a punter.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, that's all I have, and I got to stay cool.
Thank you, Steve, and stay cool. All right, Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Hour number 2 straight ahead. That's Straight Media of hogsports.com coming up in a moment. Hour number 2 at Drive Time Sports here on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. In a moment, we'll be joined by Trey Beatty of hogsports.com, being brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service Company. Neil, he's under the weather today, so I will stand in for the moment. I want you to check out on the app Bet Saracen. You can check this out on betsaracen.com. But they have got all kinds of daily specials, such as the MLS specials. The one that caught my eye today was the Match 8 specials. That's between Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. And example, birdie or better on hole number 7. Curry, Thompson plus 130, Mahomes, Kelce plus 150. I could go on and on. I mean, there is so many prop specials to take a look at on the Match 8 specials. There's cross sport specials, UFC, NFL season specials. And then the one I really like to look at is the NCAA football season specials. There's all kinds of specials. And then if you just want to go to, let's say, the MLB tab at the baseball tab at the top, you've got the MLB, then you got the Arkansas Travelers, you got the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. Be sure and check out all of the daily specials, and be sure to check out all of the different ones that involve our in-state teams that are still playing right now, the Travelers and the Naturals. You'll find that where? At Bet Saracen or Bet Saracen, the app. Get it on the App Store.
Now to Trey Beatty, brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service, 501-562-2293. Family owned and operated since 1980. Asher Wrecker, dependable towing and vehicle recovery service. Ask for Asher.
Good afternoon, Trey. Good afternoon, Trey.
Hey, guys.
I had your volume turned off for a moment. Man. What are we going to talk about today? I was thinking about that as we were approaching your segment, because I don't know if it's official or not, but I feel like we are now really into the true dog days of summer. College baseball's over. Yeah. The college athletics season is over for the time being. Rick, why don't we ask Trey some of these things we debated about? Can a player practice? Let's say Devo Davis. Can he practice, work out with the team without being in summer school?
I guess.
Stop the band. We got him, didn't we? We don't know either. Because you think about it, okay, so football players are here, but they're not officially practicing, but they're unofficially working out and everything. But they could have summer jobs. That's the way it used to be. But let's just say a guy was employed instead of a class. Can you do that and still practice? And what if you're a newcomer? What if you've never played on the team before?
Well, like Chandler Lawson. What about him?
Right. Could he, because he hadn't enrolled yet?
If you're a newcomer, that's maybe where it gets a little tricky, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're a returning player, then I don't see why that would be a problem. I mean, it wasn't 10 years ago, maybe, where the NCAA changed it, where summer school was paid for.
Yeah.
As part of your scholarship, because it used not to be. And so if it's not, then I'm sure there were some people that maybe couldn't afford to take summer school classes, but still worked out with it, at the university. Back when summer workouts were a little bit more voluntary, you didn't always have the entire team there. But for a new guy, that might be an interesting question.
Yeah,
so I guess we could talk to the compliance department and find out if we really want that answer.
But I'm guessing, like for basketball, they're probably all enrolled in summer school. I'm just guessing they are, particularly the transfers in, because they probably need the credits, wouldn't you think?
Yes, I mean if they were now the guy from Memphis, he might not be.
He's a grad transfer.
He's not because he came in after summer school had already started, or at least
but the second session.
I don't know if
the
second session starts next week. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's a good question. But that's probably a better question for compliance.
But wouldn't that be, Trey? Wouldn't it be the same for every sport? So in other words, whatever is applicable for football should be the same for basketball, same for baseball, on down the line, should it not?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why it would be different.
Because the only thing, as an example, in fact, last year it was the men who took the trip to Italy. This year, the ladies are getting ready to take a trip to Greece. Wouldn't it? I mean, they would have to be in summer school, would they not, in order to be able to go with, because they'll get up to 10 early practices before they leave to go overseas, and then they'll have the exhibition games and all that stuff.
I don't know why summer school would matter as much. I mean, if you're accepted, to be enrolled in school during the regular semesters, then I don't know why summer school is a requirement exactly.
I think that would be necessary, though, to get any kind of stipend from the school, whether it be for lodging or.
Well, if you've signed a financial aid agreement form or a scholarship, a national letter of intent with, plans to enroll. I don't know. I mean, we can just guess, but I mean, probably should hit up somebody in compliance and get an answer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're the king of freedom of information, all that other stuff. So
I'm the king.
I'm not putting any pressure on you to find this stuff out. Do you understand?
Yeah. I don't know if kings and freedom of information go together, really. It seems like that would be more a democratic process.
Oh, okay. I am looking at Hog Sports right now, and one particular story that I thought was Danny had one on more, M-O-R-E, more on Arkansas's weekend visitors. Wasn't this, Trey, in this supposed to be the whopper of the weekend where you had the most visitors coming in, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I think there were 17 total visitors that came in last weekend, and it's kind of, I mean, with visitors aren't coming in now, so this weekend, so it's kind of been a quiet day, and it's been a while since we've had a day that just was quiet. So Danny took a look back, just on some of the visitors that came in this past weekend and reviewed some of the stuff that some of them had said, and I think a lot of people are keeping their eye on Norreal White out of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. There's people over at the Mississippi State site that think that there's a chance that he could flip to them. Selman Bridges is another guy I think that we're keeping an eye on. He didn't visit last weekend. He visited Texas last weekend. But Selman Bridges is like the number 50 ranked prospect in the entire country. And I mean, the thought, if we talked about him last week, the thought was, Arkansas may finish second, and, it's not the end of the world anymore to finish second because, you never know what's going to happen with somebody's college career. And they may look back and remember, well, I mean, you talk to Texas people, they're insiders over there, and they think Arkansas is the team to beat for Selman Bridges. So they said that Arkansas just hit it out of the park on their visit there. So that's something to keep an eye on too. So there's obviously never-ending movement with football recruiting, but June again is a big month, and there's a lot of guys coming up in July who are making announcements coming up very soon. So I'll say this: Jaquan McCroy, who's out of Alabama, also a top 100 prospect, who, a couple of weeks ago thinking Oregon, thinking Arkansas, well, now it seems like more think in Oregon. And, we're watching Fletcher Westfall, who's making a decision too, pretty soon. And, is that going to be Arkansas? Is it going to be Clemson or somebody else? There's some big decisions coming up.
The NCAA and the governing body for the National Letter of Intent program announced new policies allowing athletes to back out of their NLI agreements without penalty under certain circumstances. I think this one's been long overdue. Okay, if there's a change in coach, the coach leaves,
Yep.
then he can get out of that NIL. And there was another one in here, and I'm trying to find it. There were two different circumstances, but one of them involved the coach, and I forget what the other one was. But that's common sense if you've got a coaching change, which is really what bogged down Ron Holland over at Texas. And I don't know if it was strictly because Chris Beard left that he wanted out of his NIL, but they sure drug it out.
Yeah, that whole situation was weird, Randy. I mean, Texas drug that out, and he could be, since he had asked out of it, he could be recruited by other schools. So
Correct.
It wasn't stopping that. It was just preventing him signing with what we were all told was going to be Arkansas. So I just don't, he waited until Texas granted him the release, all that stuff, so on and so forth, and then goes to the G League where it didn't matter if he had a release or not. The whole situation was just bizarre. I mean, nothing about that added up. Yeah.
Very bizarre. There was a big offensive lineman from Kentucky. I meant to talk about that or ask you about that yesterday.
Zuri Madison. Yeah, Zuri Madison, 6'5", 315 out of Lexington, Kentucky. He was a guy that Arkansas didn't offer until fairly recently. It was like May 18th, so it wasn't that far off. He took his official visit on June 16th, a month later, and then committed to Arkansas just 2 days ago. And he's the guy that this staff really likes. They love his football knowledge, his the way he understands leverage and things of that nature. Arkansas, Miami, West Virginia, I believe those are the ones that he had taken official visits to. Kentucky had offered him, and a number of other schools. Illinois was really high on him too. So second offensive line commit joining Kobe Branham so far in this class. So yeah, that's but again, he took his official visits all in June to Arkansas, Miami, and West Virginia, and Arkansas felt pretty good about him. He's the number 2 ranked prospect in the state of Kentucky, number 34 ranked interior offensive lineman in the country.
Good get. Very good get.
Mm-hmm.
This from Savage. I love Savage. I mean, he is so savvy with the social media. From our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback, Ashtray, what did you think the University of Arkansas will do for Ryan Mallett this year? Just a sticker on the helmet or jersey?
I think something like that would be appropriate. Some kind of decal, helmet sticker or something. We talked yesterday about some possibilities that they may explore, but to me, that's I feel like that's what they did for Paul Eels. I feel like that was, wasn't there a decal or something on the helmet?
For Coach Broyles, JFB. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think something like that would be appropriate. Maybe a 15 decal or something like that.
The other suggestion, Trey, was renaming. Marley came up with the idea of renaming the quarterback room, the Ryan Mallett Memorial Quarterback Room.
I think that could be appropriate also.
Yeah. I like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay. I got some other feedback over here. This one, I think we sort of had mentioned yesterday. Couldn't quite figure out how to do it. So, this from the 870, like to start a petition, dedicate the 15-yard line to Ryan Mallett. Would you have any information what I would need to do for that petition wise? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
No, I don't either.
This from the Hogman, the Intruder. Hogman, the Intruder. Ask Trey if he thinks that Brawl's hurry up, no huddle offense could have had something to do with the Hogs' goal line woes by wearing down the O line.
I feel like Pittman identified a big reason for that, and that was strength and conditioning. He felt like they weren't as strong late in the season as they were early in the season. And obviously he made a change, basically on the tarmac on the way home from Missouri. I mean, fired the whole strength staff and the nutrition staff. So I feel like that was what he identified, number one, as the problem. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I'll tell you the play I hate most in football, aside from third down, fade to the corner of the end zone at the goal line. I hate that play. The play I hate most is first down on a pass, and then we got to hurry up to the line of scrimmage and run a play up the gut that gets 1 or 2 yards. It seems like every single time. And every hurry-up coach in the country does that, and everybody knows it's coming. It's just hurry up, get to the line of scrimmage before the defense gets ready, yeah, hurry up. And then it almost feels like you burn a play. But, I mean, you got a huge running back, a huge quarterback. You can't get a push. I mean, they even tried Trey Knox, which made no sense when they did Trey Knox at the goal line because you already have a big quarterback who can move a pile. It just seemed like they were trying everything and could not get a push. Arkansas put up 471 yards per game last year. You'd take that right now if I told you that's what Arkansas would put up. They didn't have any problem moving the ball between the 20s. It's just when they got down in the red zone, particularly in the goal line, and when they had short yardage situations, they couldn't move the ball. And when you got a quarterback that big that can run like that and a big tailback, there's really no excuse for that. And I think it came down to the offensive line and, just being able to, for those guys being able to get a push. So hopefully they've changed some strategies with that and, some stuff that can, keep them strong during the season. They lift weights a couple of times a week during season. Unless you're redshirting, then you lift a lot more often. But if you're a player, then you still lift a couple times during the season. And hopefully they get that corrected because that was the big problem to me with the offense last year was the goal line, short yardage.
All right, it took me a few minutes to find it in my pile of papers, but this was the article I was looking for a moment ago. Upcoming, this one again by Danny, upcoming announcement dates for Arkansas targets. Zuri Madison was set to make the announcement on the 28th, June 28th. Well, we know that's happened.
Yeah. I think Ashton Bethel Roman might be next on July 4th.
Well, he's got Jaquan McCroy next.
Okay.
That will be tomorrow. Offensive lineman.
We're thinking Oregon there.
Braylon Conley, a corner. That's tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. That's tomorrow night. In the mix, USC, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Baylor. And on the 1st of July, Parker Livingston, a wide receiver.
Well, I was way off. I don't know that all those guys are going to end up at Arkansas, but to me, I think they got a really good shot at Ashton Bethel Roman, who is, number 92 ranked prospect in the country overall out of Missouri City, Texas, number 16 in Texas. That might be the guy that's maybe next that could end up at Arkansas. Fletcher Westphal, I think, announced that he's about to make his decision also. And he's a big-time offensive line recruit they had in last weekend.
I'm looking for his name on here, and I don't see it.
It might not be because I think he announced that today, and Danny might not have.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, there it is. Fletcher Westphal
okay.
At the very bottom of the page. He's saying July 10th on him. Braylon Russell, July 14th.
14th, yeah.
The running back out of Benton. What are your thoughts on that? I know there was concern that Tennessee might be sweetening the NIL pot for him. What are you hearing on Braylon Russell, Trey?
Tennessee people kind of think he's going to Arkansas, and Arkansas people seem to kind of think he's going to Tennessee. So that's where we are. Braylon's done a good job of keeping it close to the vest.
Yeah, he really has. No date set yet for Wyatt Simmons, the linebacker out of Searcy Harding Academy.
Wouldn't surprise me if that gets set pretty soon too.
And then the other one that is not set is Brian Huff, the linebacker from Valley View in Jonesboro.
Yep. Who visited maybe week before last, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. All right, Trey. Enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe. Stay inside. Hydrate. We will talk with you tomorrow. That is Trey Biddy of hogsports.com, being brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service Company. Drive Time Sports coming up next. Our NFL agent and guru, Chris Turnage, right after the break. It has been said the rich and famous dine at the Riverfront Steakhouse, but then when they find out that they're just like you and me, and they say, I'm taking advantage of that dinner for two for $60, it makes me look like I'm rich and famous. When they deliver that filet, that 10-ounce filet, cooked to perfection, or maybe when they go through the Riverfront salad bar, they think, ha, the rich and famous, yeah, baby, I'm loading up at this salad bar. I'm going to turn this into a meal, which, oh, by the way, it is the largest salad bar in North America. Over 30 items, including baby shrimp, iceberg, and romaine lettuce, spinach, pastas, and a variety of dressings. But the filet, combine that with the double F, the Frank Fletcher, melt in your hand. Well, actually melt in your mouth. The fried shrimp, that is, oh my goodness, wrist to fingertips. That's how big they are. I don't know how they catch them that big. And then you get to share two side items, whether it be the baked potato size of an NFL football, the onion rings, which I heard a great discussion on that the other day. Have you tried the Riverfront Steakhouse onion rings? Mashed potatoes, hibachi fried rice with chicken French fries, fresh spinach supreme, wild mushrooms. Folks, dine with the rich and dine with the famous, and you'll spend just what they spend. Dinner for two for $60 at the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock. And tell them I sent you, and be sure to call ahead for reservation 371-9000. As for William R. Shapur, a reservation is recommended. That is the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock in the Wyndham Hotel. Good afternoon, Chris.
Hey, guys. Caviar, champagne wishes and caviar dreams at the riverfront, I guess. Sounds like that's the place to go.
It doesn't get any better than that, does it, buddy?
Absolutely.
That's one thing about the Riverfront Steakhouse that I can say unequivocally, positively. They cook it to perfection, that filet. And I know for a fact that my friend Chris Turnage has looked like the rich and the famous. He's taking clients there, and they think he is the king as he treats them. He treats his clients like royalty. So, what's up, buddy? What's going on in the world of the National Football League? Are we kind of in the quiet zone right now in between all the OTAs that finished up, and then you've got the fall camp that's about to begin?
Yeah, this is kind of the equivalent of the dead period in college football, college recruiting. Literally, this is kind of we talked a little bit about last week, I think, but the time where the staffs are on vacation and nothing much is happening. So this is literally kind of the dead time to work through. So it'll start picking up, next week. Excuse me, you'll get some calls and starting to make a few conversations about guys that needing workouts or free agents, those kind of things. Next week we'll start to pick up a little bit. Then the following week it'll really pick up there after the 4th. That's when everybody will start getting back in. But this is kind of the quietest time of the year, slowest time of the year in the NFL for sure.
So, Chris, whoever caught up with Brandon Allen to talk about Ryan Mallett discovered that he has signed a 1-year contract with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I thought they already had 16 quarterbacks. How, what's Brandon's outlook there at San Francisco?
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. I saw when he signed it, and then look, maybe that was his only choice. I don't know the logic, but, they obviously have 3 quarterbacks that are all going to be competing for playing time there, and even the starter, and, from day one, is depending on if Purdy's injury, what happens there. But you got a high pick that they traded a lot of assets for in Trey Lance. And then they brought over Sam Darnold, who actually played pretty well at the end of the season for the Carolina Panthers. So, especially if that's your number 3 is Darnold, you feel pretty good, going into the season. And he has some guaranteed money tied into that. So it's interesting. Brandon Allen comes in as, I don't know where he is officially on the depth chart right now with Purdy's injury and all that, but you got to think long term. They're thinking maybe he's behind those guys, but maybe they know they're going to trade one of those guys. I know Trey Lance has been rumored to be on the block, so maybe there's kind of a trade back there they're thinking, and then they'd have Brandon Allen as their 2 or 3, to keep. So it was an interesting choice just in terms of depth, but like I said, you never know what went on in Brandon Allen's conversation in his camp, if that was the only offer at the time, or the one that felt the best. So it was if he had other choices, it was a little interesting based on the depth chart there, but certainly he's got some experience to be able to hang in and hang around.
Now, it used to be that you had to play 3 years and 3 games to qualify for the NFL pension. Is that still the case? And certainly, I guess Brandon Allen's now qualified, right?
So Brandon is qualified. So what it is, it's called accredited season, and you have to be on the active roster 3 or more games. It can be any 3, 1, 2, and 17, 1, 2, and 3. But you don't actually have to step on the field. But as long as you're on the active roster for 3 or more games, you get accredited season. And it takes 3 credited seasons to qualify for the pension. And so once you get 3 credited seasons, you get pension for the rest of your life. But then that pension amount increases for every credited season you add after that. So Brandon Allen has qualified, so he'll definitely have pension, which is nice.
Yeah.
But whether he plays or not, he's already got that. But even if he didn't play, but was on the active, so many games in Cincinnati where he didn't play, but he was still on the active roster, that would still count towards that credited season.
When does that start? Do you when you're 65 or 55, or is it like Social Security? The earlier you start, the less you get. How does that work?
So it'll start for NFL players at age 55.
55.
For the rest of their lives.
Wow. Goodness. That is a heck of a plan, isn't it?
So is there an ultimate cap on how much you can get through the retirement process, Chris?
Yeah, I think after 12 credited seasons, that's when it stops going up. So I think once you get to 12, then it doesn't matter if you have 13, 14, 15. Once you get to 12, it doesn't go up from there.
Okay. And does your salary have anything to do with what your pension is going to be?
No, it's all based on credited seasons. So you look at, there's a chart that they have, and if you have 4 credited seasons, when you retired, then you get this amount for 4 credited seasons. If you have 8, you get this amount. It doesn't really matter what that salary is during those time frames.
So if Brandon Allen had as many credited seasons as Patrick Mahomes, he'd get the same amount of money.
Correct.
Wow. Obviously, Patrick probably might have a little more saved than Brandon does.
Perhaps so.
Okay, so for those of us who are really ignorant on this, explain this one to me. So I was reading about Patrick Mahomes, and he signed this long-term contract with an average salary of $45 million. But this year, his base salary for 2023 is $5.5 million. I was just reading that. So does that mean he gets $5.5 million, or is there some other fund that gives him the other $40 million, or how's that working for him?
Yeah. So generally, and Patrick Mahomes' contract, by the way, was very, very team friendly. Like, there are a lot of criticisms out there. They wanted to go get the first $100 million contract, in football, blah, 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 they did, but it's very team friendly, absolutely. And so Patrick Mahomes, the way that's working, Rick, is he got so much on the front end that they're averaging that all the signing bonus and everything over then the course of the 5-6 year deal, whatever it was, to come up with that average number per year. So this year his base will be at 5.5. Now I'm assuming he probably has some sort of incentives in there to where if you make the Pro Bowl, if you win a Super Bowl, whatever different incentives for different players that could bump that up somewhat, but the base would absolutely, be that 5.5. And then everything else would have to come from incentives because that average again was done by the signing bonus. Does that make sense?
Yes. So his signing bonus must have been absolutely enormous.
It was, yeah. The signing bonus was pretty big, but again, it was very, very team friendly. And I'll give you an example. Dietrich Wise, Razorback, one of my clients, he has a clause that, so he has his base salary, and then he has a clause if he plays 50% of the snaps, he gets an additional $500,000. If he plays 65% of the snaps, he gets an additional 500,000. If he plays 75% of the snaps, of course, he gets an additional 500,000. So he has a chance if he plays 76% of snaps, he'll earn an extra 1.5 million just in incentives, alone based on that play time.
I see.
And those do not work against the cap, correct?
Well, that's an interesting question because this is probably way more than you want to know, but there's two categories of incentives. Ones are called likely to be earned, and the other is called not likely to be earned.
Oh, my goodness.
So, likely to be earned means that player would have hit that incentive the previous year. And so those count to the cap immediately if they're likely to be earned. If they're not likely to be earned, that means that player did not hit that the previous year before you did the contract. And those would not count into the cap initially, but then if the player hit it, it would count in the following year's cap. So, answer your question, they do count.
Who dreams this stuff up?
Yeah, it's not simple for sure.
Good gracious.
So Mahomes, I guess the reason I was reading this was because it says he's the 7th highest paid quarterback in pro football. So I guess he got all this money up front, whereas other quarterbacks maybe didn't get as much up front and maybe not as much guaranteed, but they can make more per season. Is that, am I correct there?
Correct. Yeah, correct. And when they talk about the 5th highest paid, the 1st highest paid, whatever, they're all going by that average per year generally. And so that average per year, yeah, it can be manipulated based on either the upfront or the back end or something like that. So absolutely, a lot of times there might be a roster bonus, for example, for a player's salary that, hey, if you're on the 53, then you get a roster bonus, which is similar to a signing bonus. And so then that would factor into that whole average as well. But yeah, Rick, theoretically, you're right. Mahomes could have gotten more up front. Other players could get more during the year. And that's really based on the team's cap needs and cap structure. If a team needs more cap relief on the front end, generally you're going to see larger signing bonus because that's going to be prorated over the life of the deal. If a team they're good on cap money that year, maybe the salary's higher because that would all count for that year's cap, and then they do a roster bonus the following year. So it really just depends on how they structure it, usually based on the team's cap needs.
You think Mahomes has a roster bonus? I think he's going to make the roster.
Well, yeah, and that's what, for guys like that, a lot of times they will do a roster bonus, but knowing, hey, this is as good as anything else because you're going to make the roster, So it is a way to put it in.
He makes the likely category on that one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's sweating when the 53 man, the Turk walks around to cut guys. I don't think he's sweating to see that guy.
Not too much. Mm-mm.
All right, Chris, hang on. Can you hang on one more segment?
Yep, absolutely.
Very good. Hang on. Chris Turnage, our NFL agent and guru. Rick Schaeffer, I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in just one moment. I got to admit, every time I hear that Eat My Catfish ad, I'm thinking, whoo, that fried red tomato salad with the blackened chicken and shrimp on it. Oh, my goodness gracious. That was beyond delicious. Anyway, well, welcome back to Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer, joined again by our NFL agent and guru, Chris Turnage. I'm Randy Rainwater. All right, Chris, does the NFL have a major problem? It almost sounds like it's already out of control, and that is they've been handing out, the NFL seems like they've been handing out left and right these gambling suspensions. Is this a major issue that's about to blow up in the face of the NFL?
You know, I don't think it is, and I think that's why they're taking such a proactive approach to it right now. I think they're trying to say, hey, we're serious, and that's why we're suspending guys for an entire season. You know, if you do that. So there's really 5 categories of no-nos in terms of gambling. There's not anything that says they can't gamble at all. But number one, they can't gamble on NFL games, period, no matter where they are. They can't gamble on any games or any event while they're at the team facility. So, in other words, they can't go put a bet in on a baseball game if they're at the team facility. Number 3 is they can't do daily fantasy wagers, and that's, again, to try to make sure to maintain the integrity. So you can't do daily fantasy games because that's very easy to manipulate. They can do season-long fantasy, but they just can't do daily fantasy games. They can't do those are the 3 main ones. There's 2 other categories that are a little bit more minor. I think one is you can't do it from a team hotel either, as opposed to like the team facility. But those are the major ones. And so I think, you know, they post these in every team's locker room. They talk about it. I don't think there's a huge problem. I think it's just more so guys didn't think they would get caught, or the other categories you can't give any inside information as to who's starting or who's playing good, anything like that, in terms of the gambling. But like I know several of these suspensions came from guys who were gambling on other things, but it just took place inside the team facility. Now the Isaiah Rodgers for the Colts, it came out he put over 1,000 different wagers in, and he said it was for some friends of his, but they were on football games. There were some with the Colts games. There were some daily fantasy in there. And so he's suspended for a full year. He admitted it. Hey, I did wrong and all that. So I don't think it's a major issue yet, but I think the NFL takes it serious so that it doesn't become a major issue, and to make sure that the public has the confidence and that they're trying to be as transparent as possible.
So do they put those signs in the locker room right next to the ones saying "Use Fans Edge" and "Here's your local casino," and we're taking all this money from these people, but we're going to take their money, but we can't use their services? I mean, is this not the height of hypocrisy? And I get it, because they want to make sure players aren't throwing games. I get that, but you can't bet on games. But hey, we want all the fans to bet on games. Now,
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Well, if you remember a couple of years ago, Tony Romo had a fantasy football convention at a casino in Las Vegas, and the NFL nixed that. Mm-hmm. And now they've got a team in Las Vegas that is literally connected to a casino, and so it is funny. But the NFL is the largest, revenue generating in terms of gambling sport all year, for year round. And so, yeah, the NFL's position is, hey, we don't want players anywhere close to the gambling, so that it doesn't even appear like they're throwing games. And so that's their philosophy. You're exactly right, Rick. At the same time, we're going to take a sponsorship from a casino and a sign that says, hey, go bet at MGM or whatever. But the players can't do it.
And this has been talked about. I don't know if it exists or not. In stadiums, being able to actually place bets on games while you're in the stadium, like they even supply you with ways to do it. Was I reading that they want to do that, or is it actually in action at this point?
That is a potential action, yes. So they've talked about it. They haven't made moves or steps towards it yet. If you go to England, like there are actual betting boxes like an ATM. They're at cricket games, at soccer games, that you can literally go in and do that. So that's what they've talked about, is do they want to do that? I do think they would like to eventually. and especially with some of the stadiums, because the stadium would get a cut of that, which means the owners get a cut of that. And so I think they would like to, and it would not shock me to see that in the next 5 years. But at this point, there are no actual plans to do that.
Well, why make them get out of the seats? Just put a computer there in front of them, and you can just sit there and watch the game and bet as the game is ongoing.
Right.
Yeah. No, you might have it, and obviously cell phones can do the same thing now for a lot of them. But yeah, that wouldn't be shocking to see that. And there's talk about even then, hey, who gets the next play, who runs the next,
right.
touchdown, betting on those kind of things as well, and in-game betting.
Bingo!
And of course, the owners who want to make sure no player bets on a game they get an enormous amount of money from this. They just put it in their pocket. I can see why players get upset sometimes at ownership. That's really bad. Really bad. Well, let's just totally change subjects here.
Well, hold on, Rick. If we can, let's get to Sterling.
Good.
He's been holding. Sterling, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Hey guys, I had a quick question. I know y'all up on the top of the hour. Have you heard of any loopholes since you've been in the business that had to be a cover up that agents or teams have used in the past in their advantage? And what's the thing about a player coach? How will his contract work out? Does he just go strictly under the player part of the salary cap, or does they have a coach's part, a salary, a player coach? Let's say like Patrick Mahomes. Let's say they call him the quarterback coach, but obviously he's a starting quarterback. I mean, how could that work, or that's just strictly have to be a player? And y'all guys have a great day.
Thank you, Sterling.
Yep, Sterling. So I'll take your second question first, and then go to the first one. But so in that scenario, obviously, it was much more popular to have a manager coach, which hadn't been done in a while. But football, if they happen to do that, any salary they gave for that player as a coach would factor into the salary cap. So even a step farther, if Tom Brady buys into the Raiders and then comes back to play for the Raiders, as has been the rumor, any money he receives as owner of the Raiders would go into the salary cap. You can't circumvent that. So that would all factor in if they name Patrick Mahomes quarterback coach as well, and they try to give him extra money for that, it would still be counted. So they're doing that, Sterling, for your very point. So they can't try to circumvent. Hey, we're going to hire you as a quarterback coach and pay you $5 million, and we're going to pay you $100,000 as a player. So that $100,000 will count towards the salary cap. So that's the very reason. But any additional income, if the owner says, "Oh, you use my yacht for the weekend," then the fair market value of that should be calculated into the salary cap as well. So that's
really
theoretically way the answer would work. In terms of that first question, I think you said I kind of went out a little bit on me, but I think you said, "Is there any loopholes?" Is that what he said?
Yes.
Loopholes that owners have used. There's always some loopholes, that you have to figure out. The big one that has been argued recently is, the OTAs are absolutely voluntary, and players don't have to show up for OTAs if they choose not to. They're not supposed to be penalized for it, but it's common sense. If you're around and the coach to see you more, obviously they're going to usually give that player more reps. But we had Jawan Johnson, who was an offensive tackle with Denver Broncos. He was not showing up to OTAs. He got hurt working out at home. And technically, the team doesn't have to pay for that. The team said, "Well, that's fine. That's going to be what's called a non-football injury, NFI, and we don't have to pay for it." And Jawan Johnson said, "Well, I'm doing the team workouts. I'm just doing them at home." But that's kind of a loophole that the teams do. They're like, "Well, if you're not here, then technically the CBA agrees that we don't have to pay for that injury." So there is some action to try to correct that, but they're pretty steadfast. They're like, "Hey, all you have to do is show up. If he gets the injury here, then we do pay for it." And I will say, obviously, I'm on the player side, and I represent players, but I will say I do see the owner's point, just because do you really know if the guy got hurt doing that workout at home, or did he get hurt water skiing, or did he get hurt, snowboarding or whatever? And so I do understand that point a little bit, but that's one kind of loophole for sure that's right now being discussed amongst the union and the NFL management to determine if there's a better solution.
Wow. This went fast today, Chris. We will talk with you next week. That's our
Have
NFL.
a good weekend, guys.
You bet. You too.
Chris.
Happy 4th of July. That is Chris Turnage, our NFL agent and guru. Up next, Bart Reed, Pure Sweat, basketball skills being brought to you by Martin Orthopedics. Hour number 3 straight ahead. Hour number 3 of Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. And Bart yet to connect. Hopefully we'll get Bart Reed to join us here in a matter of moments. But Rick, one, I wouldn't say interesting note, but it was interesting only from this aspect that when I read it finally in print, I thought, thank goodness, this can now officially be put to rest. That is, this was from CBS Sports College Basketball. Grant Nelson transfers to Alabama.
Really? Wow. Boy, there's breaking news. Did they put breaking news with that?
I mean, this thing is so old, you know, or I say this news is so old. It seems like it's so old anyway. But anyway, I guess you can now say it is finally put to rest what is going to happen with one Grant Nelson.
It's time for the basketball insider in Arkansas. It's pure sweats, skills, and trainings. Bart Reed, made possible by Martin Orthopedics, with locations in Little Rock, North Little Rock, Cabot, and Hot Springs Village, staffed with fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine specialists. For more information on the web, go to martinortho.care. Now, here's Bart.
Here's Bart.
Hey, Bart, did you know Alabama just got another transfer guy in the transfer portal?
Did they? Who they?
Randy,
Who'd
it's
they
breaking
land?
news. Tell him.
Oh, Grant Nelson.
Yeah. The headline, Grant Nelson, they should have said, finally transfers to Alabama rather than it's Grant Nelson transfers to Alabama. That, good gracious. I mean, this is like 9 weeks old, it seems like.
I'm telling you, but Randy, my sources proved to be right on that deal because even though they went for another big, they said they are not going away from Grant Nelson, and they did not.
No, you were right about it. It's just how ridiculously long it took for this to, quote, now, my understanding is, though, there were some academic issues that had to be cleared up, something like that.
Yep. But now that they're cleared up, listen, Alabama's got them a playmaker on the inside. This guy puts up big numbers and can do a lot of stuff. Inside, outside, ball screens. He's physical. He's got great touch. So he adds another dimension. Right after losing Brandon Miller, they just reload.
Well, my understanding was he had a school course called Monopolizing on the NIL that he had to get the passing grade from, and that made him eligible at Alabama.
That's right. I don't know why people are saying that Alabama does not have the NIL resources that Arkansas has, because I would think Tuscaloosa would have plenty of that. So I'm sure he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, I'm sure he is too. All right, this from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Ball fan 870, Arkansas talent. How is a state the size of Arkansas continuing putting our talent on this scale? Would really enjoy hearing Bart discuss the reason, how/why this is happening. Maybe it's just luck, but somehow I don't feel like luck has anything to do with it. So how does the size, Bart, the size of the state of Arkansas continuing putting our talent on this scale?
Well, it's a little bit of the perfect storm. I think you have a mixture of having really great, and I say great, resources in the summertime with people like Bill Ingram and the Arkansas Hawks, and there are plenty more out there that provide a really great stage to showcase the players' talent and skills to coaches on the next level. That's number one. Arkansas does a fantastic job, and a lot of it is that's where size helps us in terms of helps us meeting the state,
because it's easier to collect and know exactly where the talent is. So, when I played for the Wings, Randy, Coach Crawford, it was not hard to find the 12 best players in a particular class in Arkansas because there were just not that many compared to a California or Texas. The other thing is access to information. And access to information goes along with training. Basketball is a skill game. It's probably one of the few with baseball, last true skill games left. Skill is king. If you continue to develop your skill set, you will continually improve on the court in terms of production. So when I first started, there were probably about 2 or 3 trainers. That was 10 years ago. Now there's probably 15 to 18 trainers. And that's great because it's opened up doors for other players, especially young players, to learn the game very young and continue to grow and build over time.
Bart, would you also argue, if that's the right phrase or term, but when I look at all of these fantastic arenas that have popped up, I mean, now you've got an independent, so to speak, maybe not classified as an arena, but a basketball facility in Summerwood. But Southwest has got one. Searcy's getting ready to open up one. Russellville's got a palace. Lone Oak has got a palace. It seems like there has been maybe over the last 5 or so years now a lot of these I know they're saying are multi-purpose type facilities. Oh, we can hold graduation in there, or we can do this, or we can do that.
Right.
More than just it's a basketball arena. But would you not say that the facilities growth has added on to the development of some of these young men and young ladies in regards to their overall growth?
Yes, and Randy, that's a great point because as you mentioned, some great arenas. As you're talking about, this is filtered down, guys. There's AA, AAA schools with really, really top state of the art, better than a lot of college arenas on the mid-major or low Division I level.
Totally,
it really is incredible. But Randy, Rick, that goes to the overall emphasis I think that school is starting to put into athletics instead of running from it. I think they've embraced it, and it goes on the same on the football side. When you increase your facilities and your amount of spend and the resources you put in, you're going to get more out of it. And that's a great point. And we have, finding gyms was a hard thing to do a couple of years ago. 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't get into the gym. Now, in the summertime with these really nice arenas, there's room for multi-sports to be in there and gives players a chance to play year-round.
There is a facility. Now, it is a multi-purpose, not basketball only. This is for all different sports in Greenbrier. I don't know if you've seen that facility that they have there, but on the upper top half, well, really it's about a quarter of the facilities, they built basically an indoor batting cage, pitching mound with, nets. You got it all. I mean, they can take a little bit of infield even in that area. And then down below, they've got the softball area for the ladies. And I mean, football can do their thing inside there. It is one special facility they have there in Greenbrier that is really state of the art.
And Randy, what that does too, because as we're in dead week, and we have to talk about this because we're right in the middle of dead week for high school. Even on a smaller scale like we have at Hoopah, we're fortunate enough to have a private facility. We don't have to observe dead week, so we have kids in the gym right now working that normally on those 14 days would not pick up a basketball, but if they want to, there's just a lot more places that they can do that.
Again, it's the development that's going on, and
that's right.
And you did kind of brush. I mean, you touched on it, but I know you don't want to toot your horn. but the trainers can make a huge difference, particularly in skill development. Because not many kids, let's face it, I was a young pup, and I watched a workout. I can't remember if I was watching an NBA game or what it was, but Oscar Robinson, and how many dribbles, just dribbling, that he worked on every day in both right hand and left hand. And I mean, if I said 1,000 with each hand, I don't think that would have been a gross exaggeration. But that back then maybe didn't have the kind of trainers you have today that help you develop those individual skills. All right, this one, Bart, we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I think this is wanting more. This again from our Asher Wrecker Service Company live fan feedback. 5-star fan says Arkansas high school basketball rankings. And he says, when the insider, Mr. Reed, boy, he doesn't know you very well, apparently. When the insider, Mr. Reed, gets on today, please ask him to spend some time talking and really breaking down the 2025-2026 class. Saw Prep Hoops in-state rankings for 2025, and wow, can this class be better than the 2022? Incredible. Then 2026 as well. Can he talk about the top two, maybe? So 2025 and 2026.
Well, I think it would be premature to say that as good as that class could be with the 2025, that they would be as good as the 22s, because as we all know, Nick Smith, Khalil Ware, all the way down to UCA commits, that class was exceptional. But let's talk about the top, let's say, 4. Isaiah Seeley and Terrion Burgess are battling for what I would say, Randy, the number 1 spot. Now, I'm a little biased to Terrion because I've seen him. I know size. Isaiah Seeley from Springdale is number 28 overall. Okay. Terrion is, in some regards, 17, a little bit higher. Both are 4-star type of talent. McDonald's All-American potential. In the 3-4 slot, you have Jay Sean Hayes, as we talked about yesterday. Kellen Robinson. So, you know your list is really good when Kellen Robinson is at 4 or 5, Randy. I mean, that's a young man that scores at will. And then I would put Luke Moore, 2025 Central, playing up for the Arkansas Hawks. That is what I would call 5 right off the bat, power 5 count. Seeley 6'7", Terrion 6'9", Jay Sean 6'6". Kellen Robinson's extremely physical, 6'3". Luke Moore is 6'1", extremely physical. So Luke Moore was actually the first freshman ever to be offered a scholarship in the Big East. First freshman ever. So it's that type of talent. But, Randy, I think where the state will really wow you as you move down, it's the depth of the class. So there's the Bo Bachelor that's a 6'7" at Poen, that is a mid-major Division I player that probably most people are not talking about. There's that type of talent, just like in the 24s, where we talked about Elm Shelby. That's a Division I talent, low Division I mid-major. So it's not just the top-tier players. It's the overall breadth and depth of the class. It's just really, really good. If you look at the 2026, I think 2 stand out right away. J.J. Andrews is number 7 overall player. He's the best shooting guard in the country, 6'6", extremely athletic. And Jacob Lanier at Maumelle, 6'5", was All-State as a freshman, averaged 15, 7. And so those 2 are standing out. Those are 2 Arkansas offers already. And that would make up the top 2 in that 2026 class, along with the top 5 in the 2025.
So, okay, let's talk to Trey. Trey, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Bart?
Yeah, I guess it's Division II athletics, but mostly basketball. So UA Fort Smith is changing conferences, I guess, from Lone Star to another one. Is there a reason why they went to the MIAA rather than the GAC, the Great American Conference, where they'd be closer to a lot more in-state teams? And I don't know how that affects, D2 basketball or not. But anyway, that was my question. I thought it was interesting. I enjoy y'all. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Trey.
Thanks, sir. Now, Randy, you're the guru in Division II and conferences, so you are very well equipped to answer that more than I am.
Well, my understanding, Bart, this was about being able to play schools closer in proximity. So it was as much of a cost saving move as it was anything. UAFS, they can tap into, I don't know how many schools within the Oklahoma area, combine that with the Great American Conference schools that could play a non-conference that's in the state of Oklahoma. Fort Smith, you got all the way down to Magnolia to Monticello, across the state, so to speak. Henderson, well, not really across the state, but Henderson, Ouachita. So I'm just guessing. What I read was this was more about cost savings and being able to place schools closer in proximity. Because I got to believe, why not the Great American Conference? That's an outstanding conference.
Sure. Yep. But if you can save the dollars, and that's why so many people have been advocates of Arkansas playing UALR, Little Rock, and A-State. It's money. It helps everyone, especially the Division II and lower Division Ones and mid-major D1s. It takes a lot of money to travel.
I say, Bart, I don't ever see, and I know Arkansas plays UCA, but I don't think you'll ever see Arkansas unless it be an exhibition game, which doesn't count on anyone's schedule, a Ouachita or a Henderson, something like that. But they have reached out because they are among the 300. UCA is part of the 356 or whatever the number is, involving Division I schools in basketball. It's not like your FCS, FBS, and all this other stuff that goes on in football. But
right.
Let's see. Oh, go ahead, Bart. I'm sorry.
No. I love it how a lot of the state schools play, a lot of the universities. I just think it's really great for the state, but it's just so cost. My 2 years, Randy, you remember we had to travel to Georgia and then Oklahoma State, which was set up with Coach Moncrief and Coach Sutton. But just think about the difference in cost of travel and going to Georgia, taking your bus versus going to Fayetteville and driving 3 hours. Like it adds up cumulative all over the budget for the school.
It's interesting. Wimp did not like to go anywhere on a bus. The only time that Wimp would ever agree to go on a bus was, as an example, down to Lafayette, Louisiana for the tournament. And because it was always open-ended, you never knew how long you would be staying. So it was difficult to book flights. But that was one thing I did like about Coach Sanderson. He was used to that travel with Alabama, and he didn't like those buses, I can tell you that. This from our Buzz text line. I have no idea where area code 573 is. Says Bart.
Missouri.
Oh, is it? Okay. Bart will never talk about himself, but I will. I know Bart, and I know how good he is at his micro training. Look at the players he has trained and how they have succeeded. There are only 30 pure sweat trainers in the world under Drew Hanlon. Bart is the only pure sweat trainer in Arkansas. So Bart, what does that mean to be a pure sweat trainer?
Well, it really is certainly the man who is behind that, and you were good enough to have Drew on the show, Randy.
Yeah,
when
I remember
we had
that.
our camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to say it lightly, the guy's got, let's see, this last year he had 4 NBA All-Stars. So Zach LaVine, Brad Beal, the current MVP, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, he has done this for an extremely long time, I believe 18 years. And so he is one of the gurus, if not the biggest guru in the world as it relates to basketball. And he puts a lot of emphasis, time, and education into his trainers. So I had to do a mentorship for Randy. It was a year and a half. It was a year and a half job interview is what it was before I was accepted. And I have to do a ton to keep my certification each year.
All right, hang on, Bart. We got to take the break. Bart Reed, pure sweat basketball skills. Thanks again to Martin Orthopedics, Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater, Drive Time Sports. We'll continue in just one moment. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. And let's do this right now.
It's time for the basketball insider in Arkansas. It's pure sweats, skills, and trainings. Bart Reed, made possible by Martin Orthopedics, with locations in Little Rock, North Little Rock, Cabot, and Hot Springs Village, staffed with fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine specialists. For more information on the web, go to martinortho.care. Now, here's Bart.
Rick, you may already know this particular piece of information. Congratulations, Billy Moore, the All-American quarterback, defensive back in the day. They play both sides of the football. 83, celebrating his 83rd birthday today.
About that. Well, I can tell you that you can take the work that Butch Henry did before I was there. He hired me as assistant. You can take the work that I did. You can take the work that every sports information director has done since me. And I can tell you none of them compare to what Bob Chain did to get Billy Moore named first-team All-America quarterback in 1962. Because when you look at his numbers, there is no way in this world that you should be All-America with the numbers that he had. but he was. And Bob, this was back then, the sports information guy had a big part in how guys made All-America. And Arkansas was good. Won 8 games that year, I believe, and lost to Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. But and Billy had a great year. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. He was a running quarterback, had some long runs. In fact, had a couple of them that were among the longest ever at Arkansas, was an average passer. But, and I don't know if in 62 he played defensive back also, because he evidently was a great defensive back. So he, and the reason I say all that is because we've been talking about Ryan Mallett, and then you talk about Quinn Grovey. You can go to Bill Montgomery, Joe Ferguson. Billy Moore is the only first-team All-America quarterback Arkansas has ever had. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Wow.
So, so again, Billy, if you're listening out there, happy birthday. And you ought to be still, to this day, he's deceased, thanking Bob Chain for what he did for you. How's that?
Great piece of information there. The history that went in behind that, because I wasn't aware that
Now, he was a great player. There's no doubt he was a good player. And this was back when, players went both ways. And Billy evidently in 61 was probably more prominent. I guess he was more prominent as a defensive back. I'm not sure he was even the starting quarterback. And then in 62 had the great year as a quarterback. So, give him a lot of credit. His brother Henry Moore was a great running back for Arkansas in the 50s. Had a big day when Arkansas won its first game ever at Texas in 54. So it's a great football family.
If I remember, I guess maybe a current day comparison might have been Johnny Manziel, not off the field, but I'm talking about on the field.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Because he was, they say, very, very elusive.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Bart, while we have you here, I'm reading, during the break about there's some coaches at some, I don't know where they're all together, but they're asking them about expanding the NCAA tournament. And there are a couple of them that are absolutely adamant that it should not be expanded. There are a couple that are absolutely adamant that it should be expanded, some to as many as 96 teams. What do you think of that?
No.
Yeah.
I love it just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. 68 that's a lot of teams. 68. And so
it is. And if you look at the field, it's a diverse field every year. Even though people get left out, Rick, it's a diverse field every year, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah.
That's almost like, what is it, 40 some odd bowl games there are?
42, 43.
Yeah, 42, something like that. I mean, there's not enough qualified teams to fill the bowls every year.
Yeah.
You're having to take a 5 and 7 team, but because of their academics, they get to play in the bowl game. So
last year was they filled it. They really did. But you think about that. That means some teams had to be really bad because there's 125 Division I schools.
Yeah.
So that's 86 spots in bowl games. I think they have eliminated at least one bowl game for next year. So let's just say that's 84 spots. So that means there's just 41 teams that don't qualify. That means they all have to have really bad records to make sure the 84 are at least 6-6, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Look at it, comparative. In the NCAA tournament, it's probably the greatest sporting event because on any given day, anyone can be beaten. And the first round has almost as much significance as the Final Four. I mean, really,
right.
From an excitement level, just watching it, I wouldn't touch the NCAA tournament. I think it's.
Well, you had two teams this year, correct me if I'm wrong, that nobody ever would have dreamed would have been there.
What, Florida Atlantic?
And Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Especially, but Florida Atlantic, well, get ready. The hype begins. They're getting all 5 of their starters back from this past season. Amazing they lose any of those to the old famous transfer portal.
And Randy, they just came in and offered an Arkansas player, Florida Atlantic did, last week. Thompson, 2024 from Lake Hamilton, 6'4" guard. So they've offered one of our state's own.
Didn't know that. Thank you, Bart, for that information. This from our Buzz text line. Billy Moore has Alzheimer's. Carrie, his girlfriend, takes care of him. That from
my gosh.
Erie, E-R-I-E, Erie, I guess.
Very sorry to hear that.
Or is that Earl? I can't tell. Words are too small. This is from the world of entertainment. I figure if I do a story like this, then I'll get the basketball questions come pouring in for Bart. This was actually in the New York Post today, what they call page 6. Kevin Costner, his acting fees and rental income was $19.5 million. He is reportedly worth $250 million. His family spent almost $12 million on expenses in 2022. His
How do you do that?
soon to be, I'll break it down in a moment for you, Rick.
Wow.
His soon to be ex-wife, she wants $248,000 a month in alimony. Now, some of the big ticket expenses, Bart, you probably would have to charge Kevin a little bit more than this. Personal trainer, just $12,000. Had over $830,000 worth of gifts, whatever they were. Beach club cost. Beach club cost. $288,000. Golf and club dues, $34,000. Boat expenses, $26,000. Spa services, $22,000. Auto insurance, and I do not want his, I don't recommend his insurance company because I can't afford them. Auto insurance, $24,000. He gave $36,000 to charity. Medical expenses, holy smokes, $238,000. And then Christine's American Express credit card spending, $223,000. Now he has 2 houses, one in California, one in Colorado. The one in Colorado it took nearly $2 million to operate in 2022. The ranch manager got $92,000, which I guess was his salary. Other employees, $171,000. Insurance. Now, I don't know what all this means, but I can't afford it. $164,000.
Mm.
I would hate to have his internet bill. I mean, I gripe about my internet bill sometimes, but it's nothing like this. Internet bill was $45,000. It took $20,000 to clean the house. Repair and maintenance, $331,000. Utilities, $124,000. Whatever commissions mean, $459,000. And the poor mortgage payments was just $128,000. That's what you call the rich and famous.
Is this what he's
Wow.
tax deductions or something, or what are you reading? I mean, he's trying to get, those are expenses. Some of them he can write off, some of them he can't. But I got to tell you, I'll bet I'm a lot happier than he is.
Well, he's paying her. See, he wants to stick to the original agreement that they made, the prenup that they signed, which was $58,000 a month.
You could probably live pretty well on that too.
That was the prenup. Now she wants $248,000 a month, and he is saying, because she's going to use this for cosmetic surgery and all this other stuff.
How long have they been married?
I don't know. They got 3 kids.
Wow.
I think she's younger than he is, so I guess that's why she wants cosmetic surgery, keep looking young. But $50,000 a month.
$250,000 a month.
Good grief. $58,000 a month. That's man, 2 months.
I just like to have what they spend on insurance. 163. Now there's another house. It took $308,000 to run the other house in California.
Wow.
So between the two,
Randy, we'll take the golf dude.
Do what, Bart?
He can just hand over the golf dude to us.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
Yeah.
He's probably driving a car that takes high insurance because it's probably some exotic car that if it gets dinged up, it'll cost a fortune to fix it.
Must have been that Mustang he drove in Bull Durham.
I doubt that.
I mean, he must have a dirtier house.
I doubt if it's that. What do you call it? That he drove in Field of Dreams either, which was kind of an old junky vehicle.
The cleaning in the house in California was $65,000 compared to the paltry figure of $20,000 in Aspen. Okay. All right, Bart, I do actually. I thought I'd get a few questions for you out of that little segment there. Hang tight. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater, joined again by Bart Reed, Pure Sweat Basketball Skills, thanks to Martin Orthopedics. Bart, this from our Asher Wrecker Service Company live fan feedback. Reed wants to know, Isaiah Seeley. Bart spoke of him. I'm not familiar who he is. Can he talk about him again?
Yeah, so probably the best kept secret in the state because of proximity away from Central Arkansas, but then also is Isaiah Seeley's a youngster. So he was only a sophomore last year, but was part of the Springdale team that made it to the state championship that got beat by Coach Swift in Jonesboro. But Isaiah Seeley is number 28 overall. He plays on the EYBL for Mocan, which is a storied powerhouse program that won the Peach Jam just last year. Averages 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists for Mocan. Last year he was all-state, average Springdale 18 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He has offers flooding in from all over. So Arkansas, the entire ACC, the entire ACC, like he is that good, and he has grown 2 inches, guys, 2 inches from the time season was over to right now. So he's about 6'7", 6'8", a long 6'7" or 6'8". And it's exciting because I do believe that Isaiah Seeley is going to play with Bill Ingram and the Arkansas Hawks in the Las Vegas Classic coming up in a couple of weeks. So we'll get to see how that goes with Honor Boateng and some of those other guys we just talked about. But this young man is a McDonald's All-American type target and will be what I think a 5-star. He's a current 4-star right now. He'll be a 5-star by the time it's said and done.
So Bart, is he a 3? Can he grow into a 4 maybe?
Well, so good call, Randy. He is a true combo guard. He is silky smooth. Almost reminds me of, remember how Joe Johnson was just so smooth?
Yeah.
Never rushed. He's got that same type of game. Can shoot the ball, really unselfish, has great footwork, great handles, gets to the rim. Maybe a little bit more explosive than Joe was at that time, but certainly their games mimic each other a lot. It's very, very smooth with the basketball.
Bart, you may not know the answer to this, but I'll go ahead and ask you anyway. That's me. Casey said, do we know anything about when Bay Fall will be on campus? Steady word is that he isn't coming and is being replaced.
Woo! I have not. We'll have to get an update on that. I have not heard that he is being replaced. I do know that as we kind of broke that he was working through some academic issues once we figured out that the Ron Holland deal, because I think that was holding him up a little bit. But my last report is he's working through the academics, but he is still set to come, and he is not being replaced. But we'll dig around, Randy, and make sure that that's still the story.
I think the longer, Bart,
yes,
that this drags out, typically this is where the rumors, or this is where people start making these assumptions. Oh, he's not coming. He hadn't made it to campus yet. And of course, there was some other questions I think some may have had, and there could have been some accuracy to it, that some other schools were, I wouldn't call it tampering, but I guess you could call it tampering because technically he did sign with the University of Arkansas, but
yes,
made the campus yet. So,
well, I think he would have already been there, and I know that if it had not been for academic issues, he would have already been on campus. So now that doesn't mean, Randy, that something hasn't changed, but he would have already been there if it not been for academic. He cannot be there because of some academic hangups, but if he has fulfilled those and not on there, but certainly you're right, Randy. We're getting push comes to shove. Coach Musselman wants those guys to report very early compared to some schools, so he's late, really late.
Well, they're also, and this may be putting in some people's mind 2 and 2 together to come up with 4, but that is, there has been rumors that Arkansas is pushing or trying to get land another out of the transfer portal, a young man from southern Mississippi. And I don't know, I think he's back in that 6'6", 6'7" range, but I don't know how valid that is. Bart, this also from our Asher Record Service Company Life in Feedback. Tom says, Bart, why did the Lakers not draft Nick Smith Jr. with the LeBron connection?
Well, that's a great question. I'd really like to ask them that, because I can promise you this is where we can kind of talk about this a little bit more now that it's not as stressful as the situation. I think when you were watching that draft, Anthony Black went, I think, as early as he was going to go, and went to a great spot. Some people saw Nick at 14 with the LeBron connection. Not only they connected, Nick's agent is LeBron's best friend. Nick spent time this summer with Anthony Davis and LeBron working out. Like, that goes really deep. LeBron just signed a $100 million 2-year extension with the Lakers, is rumored to be buying the team, and they don't take Nick Smith, but they take a guard. And so that was where I officially started paying attention and thinking, what's happening? And then, guys, the other point is Brooklyn at 21 and 22, when they have back-to-back picks and they don't take them. I was wondering, where is that going and where the Lakers going to kick themselves? But ultimately, Charlotte lands in a good spot. But obviously, their goals with Rob Pelinka as the GM there didn't see Nick fit as a fit. But certainly, they went with a shooting guard, guys, which really surprised me. If they took out of that position, I could see it. But they basically drafted Nick's position, just another player.
Do you think LeBron wants to buy the team, the whole team?
Oh, he's that's been his whole goal since he joined the league. So he wants to buy. Him and Rich Paul, they've been actively looking to buy a team now, I think, Rich, for a couple of years. So
did they see what Charlotte
Magic
sold
Johnson
for?
bought a team, LeBron's got to have a team.
So did they see that Charlotte sold for, what was it, $4 billion? And they're terrible.
Yeah.
So what do you think the Lakers are going to go for?
I don't. Could you even afford it? I have no idea, but it would be. Wouldn't you think a record in terms of franchise?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Sold,
sure.
It has to be.
Yeah. Well, the Washington Commanders, you went for $6 billion. I don't know. It'd probably be somewhere in that vicinity. If the Charlotte Hornets are worth $4 billion, then you got to think the Lakers are worth at least double that.
Yeah, at least, if not more. And I would venture to say LeBron is on the backside of his career. Obviously, I think it's these 2 years he's done, but his net worth is valued over $1 billion. I just saw it a couple of days ago. So he's got access to money.
Yeah, that's
sure.
one. You need 8. I guess he's got access to others, doesn't he?
That's true. That's just, I guess, what he's can access. But I'm sure he would put a group, just like Magic. I think those guys can put a group together.
Yeah.
With the snap of a finger and
right.
be players. But
yeah.
I would think the bus, if they were going to sell it to anybody, it'd probably be LeBron.
Wow. Amazing.
The athletes are so extremely influential that I saw Michael Jordan made $300 million last year off Jordan Brand. That's his royalty fee from Nike. So
not many retired athletes can make that. LeBron eventually might. You never know, but not many retired athletes make that.
But they have reinvented the game in that regard.
Yeah, that's right.
That is simply beyond. I don't know. That kind of money, again, it's just just crazy.
And it's not slowing down, guys. That Jordan Brand's growing still. So that's no sign of slowing down.
That is absolutely crazy. All right, I'm checking to make sure that I have circled all of the bases. Well, it doesn't matter. There's the music. All right, Bart, have a great weekend. We will talk with you next week. That is Pure Sweat Basketball Skills. For Rick Schaeffer, I'm Randy Rainwater. Buzz Animal Cruelty, spay and neuter your pet for the Buzz Radio Network. Have a great rest of the night. So long, everybody.